will be able to
inevitably, some people share my position on both sides. And also, for today, I have my interview from HENS. I have actually never been on this. And together with Jade, I put up a few slides to run over basically what the Master of Statistics has to offer, and here and there I will make a little excursion towards some of the things that maybe you don't know yet, also for the students from HENS, because I know it's not always clear, because we are in this very complex environment. Academics like to make it complex. So I have sensed that I'm director of the Data Science Institute. They're not one and the same. There are other people in there, and so on and so on and so on. But let me start off with two questions. Whom of you, and actually also very relevant questions for the students in epidemiology, whom of you know Steve Lagakos? No one. Some of you work on HIV. Anyone working on HIV? HIV, modeling HIV, analysis of HIV-related data? So Steve Lagakos is a big name in that field. Sorry that you don't know him. Although you do, I actually anticipated this somehow. There is a second person I want to question you about, Sir David Cox. Who knows Sir David Cox? Also the Master of Statistics students.
Is that the guy from the Cox proportional hazards model?
Yes, that's the guy from the Cox proportional hazards model. That's where he earned himself the title SIR, Sir. Unfortunately, both of them are no longer with us. Sir David Cox died last year. He passed away on the 18th of January 2022. And Steve Lagakos is already way back when, honestly, 2009. But what do they have in common? They were actually the first members of the advisory board of the Center for Statistics at HENS University. And I had the pleasure to meet both of them and a little bit more with David Cox even, exchanging emails, because we were on the same editorial board of one of the journals of statistics, biostatistics. And it was cool to see that somebody 80 years of age was still sending emails sent from my iPad. And I mean, he was a great guy. Actually, like, I can tell you an anecdote, but I don't have time. I'll do that later. When I was on the conference and I had to present my work as a PhD student, and it was about Cox report. I was really very doubtful.
Finish that story.
I was who was actually also in that field, found from holding it. Anyway, that's a small anecdote to start off with. But Senstat was founded in 1998, so quite a while ago. And that's where the 25 years come from, Jean-Pierre, because we will be celebrating this in 3 weeks from now with a symposium in us. Senstat as an entity of HENS is there since 2008, on a perfect match. 1998, 2008, 25 years, 15 years, put that together, you have a bigger party. Unfortunately, we were not as smart in 2019, saying we were 1 year too late to establish the Data Science Institute, because otherwise the party would have been even bigger. That's the downside. The upside is that next year we can celebrate again. Now, so you have to count Senstat itself as, at this moment in time, 12 professors. There will be a 13th professor, which closing the vacancy. And iBiostat is the union of Senstat at HENS University, 12 professors with 4 professors at the Leuven entity. There's a small group in Leuven, smaller group in Leuven, of 4, and together that's iBiostat. Data Science Institute has in some way nothing to do with Leuven as such. That's a complete UHasselt story. We have sensed that is actually half of the data science institute where we have teamed up with computer scientists, with people from physics, with somebody from Wessemat from Harvard, basically. She does research in the reading, letters, font types, and so on, which has many data science applications. With biomedical data scientists like Lisa Pedro and others. So 26 professors in total, and still growing, I would say. So back to Senstat. So in due time, we will be with 30 professors, and actually Jade counted Lisbeth as well as one of the professors, and she is actually, but she doesn't have that title. But she's permanent, and she will hopefully never go away. We have 5 emeriti professors, of whom 2 are in the office at 8 o'clock in the morning still. They leave at 11 on them. They're tired and they can do something else with their time. 11 postdocs, 27 predocs, and 5 consultants. Quite a group. Right? Multidisciplinary backgrounds, and yes, when I say multidisciplinary for Center for Statistics, it's not as multidisciplinary as you often see in epidemiology, public health, and so on. But still, for us, that's quite multidisciplinary. So we have people with different backgrounds, multicultural, and the 3 dots are important. We span quite a bit of the globe, and that's why. Well, one of the reasons that Jean-Pierre already alluded to is that the ICP program is there for many, many years already. 1993. But let me go to the main research teams, and some of these faces are maybe familiar, and some pictures need to be replaced. I'm already it's free and such stuff. So we have here, stakeholders, these are Brugers, Thomas Nijens. And when I say the primary focus is on biostatistics, then that doesn't mean that they do not do any other work in the other domains. It's very difficult to put people in a box, and I don't like to put people in boxes, but at least you now have an idea of their main expertise. Okay, so statistical bioinformatics, Tomasz Burzykowski, Ziv Kelly, Olivier Tass, and Dirk Valkenborg. And like many of you know, Ziv is also very much into infectious disease epidemiology. But nowadays, he spends a bit more time on the statistical bioinformatics component. So it's not like I kicked him out. I just had to put myself a rule, put people in one box. Then quantitative epidemiology, I put myself first, which I normally don't do. But simply that's because I'm also the track leader for that one in the master. With Andrea Tornelli, that's our latest asset, let's say, at the professor level. Christoph Haas and Steven Abrams. Steven also has a dual appointment here at the University of Antwerp and mathematical statistics with Roel Rijkers and Annelie UHasselt, who is returning next week after she gave birth to another boy. So quite a group, but a lot of cross-fertilization. Let's call it that. Right? There will be a new person joining in machine learning. Hopefully, this picture. This is a very difficult picture. It's a snapshot because this is evolving all the time. So every day I can take a picture of the collaborations and so on, but it's evolving so fast that it's difficult to do. But it gives you a little bit of an impression of with whom we collaborate. And that's quite big. And actually, to give you a little bit more a specific example, in a moment, I will talk more about the South collaborations. But before I do that, what I need to stress is that Senstat's nexus is research, consultancy, and education. They go all hand in hand. And when I say consultancy, I mean societal valorization, economic valorization. So it's both societal and economic. We do a lot of work for instance, European agencies. European Food Safety Authority, for instance, is one of them. The European Center for Disease Control. But it's not limited to Europe, it's also outside Europe. But we see this always go hand in hand. Research and consultancy, we Actually, our consultancy often leads to research projects, and research projects often lead to consultancy. Companies that are interested in solving their problem, we tackle that. We can tackle that with modern statistical methods, but often enough, there are complexities in these problems that we can then take forward to develop new methodology, and then it feeds into research. And some companies sponsor PhDs, and so then we can continue that work. Consultancy and education, we give a lot of workshops, trainings, and so on to people, to companies. In the past, we had StatCom, it's a little bit dormant now, I would say. We have to maybe revive that at some point, where students actually help other students at the university with their statistical analyses. That was very much a lively thing quite a few years ago, and then I think it slowly died a little bit. But maybe if there is a student saying, hey, put myself behind this can always be refurbished, let's say. And then education and research in our courses, and some of you know that, and sorry for this, because we put you through a lot sometimes, and that's because we like to change material, because we have done something in research and we think our students should know. So then we refurbish the course and then we learn about the research that we do. And of course, some of the other way around, some of the research can lead to education, that I just told you. But other way around, in education, when you're explaining something, often enough you get very smart questions. And these questions, if you get them a few times, what do they lead to? Research. Then you say, oh, yeah, actually we don't have a good solution. So let's look at this, investigate this. And that's also how it goes. And especially also with the master thesis, education and research is very close to one. That goes without saying, I think. So for the master and FE students, we have a market. It used to be a virtual market during the COVID pandemic, but now it's again a market as such, where master theses are discussed, presented, and people can negotiate with their supervisors whether or not they're the right person for the job. So that's kind of a neat way of doing it. We have more thesis projects than students, which is a luxury because students can choose. Very diverse. And if you like paperwork, it's much more important than it. But if you want to know, the Center for Statistics is one of the biggest groups of statistics, all joined in one group, research group, in the whole of Europe, actually. In the UK, you have a few centers that are a little bit larger, maybe, but in mainland Europe, there are total any center that is as large as a Center for Statistics. UC Louvain was very close to it, but then somebody left there. No, we're proud of this. Why? We're really proud of this. Not only because the numbers are not really meaningful, but quality is meaningful. And we were the first program, Master of Statistics and Data Science, was the first program that got accredited by the Royal Statistical Society in the UK, which is the oldest and most prestigious society in statistics as such. You have to do quite some effort to get to that. But we gladly made it also by including, because this was not there in the title before, the data science track. Data science is something new. It's a buzzword, but we don't make it a buzzword. We want to have a solid program, a solid track within the master devoted to data science methodology. And then the other three tracks, as you are aware of, certainly for the Master of Statistics students, but for the Master in EPI, biostatistics, statistical bioinformatics, which is different from the engineering bioinformatics. There is much more a focus towards the statistical reasoning in terms of big data and so on. So it's a distinction from other bioinformatics masters in Belgium, so that you don't have the same thing anywhere else in Belgium. Quantitative epidemiology, and we put the quantitative there because we want to really distinguish between this master and the master in HENS as well. This is very much statistical, mathematically oriented. So without previous courses in statistics and mathematics, this is a kind of a daunting task to move towards the quantitative heavy track. And in that way, Jean-Pierre already alluded to it as well, is there is a combination possible also at the other end, the 2+1 basically can happen at the two ends. People that graduate from the Master of Epidemiology can actually participate in the quantitative epidemiology track in the Master of Statistics and Data Science. There is a legal prerequisite there that you need to take 67 ECTS. That's a legal condition. But in the end, if you succeed, you do get the diploma as if you would have followed a 2-year program. So that is quite nice, I would say. The other thing, and we all have our babies. We also have from the master, we also have a distance learning version, complete distance learning. The only moment that the students come to the campus, basically, they are happy. I mean, we invite them to come more, but the only moment is really at the moment of the exam. And even then, we still have, with Proctor and so on, we can do exams from a distance. And if you wonder where the graduates go to, a lot of the graduates still go to pharmaceutical industry. You have the universities, research institutes, governmental agencies, and yeah, this is still very much the case. But I see kind of an incentive by the students themselves to actually move more and more to the research institutes and governmental actors and so on. So job security, 100%. This is data science. It's the most sexiest job on the planet. Yeah. First it was statistics and now it's data science. Let me briefly, and in the interest of time, I'll keep it short, briefly spend a little bit of time on our South collaborations, and Jake is our main contact person there for all the South initiatives we're taking. And we're very proud that already for 30 years we have collaborations with the South as such. And of course, for the baby through the master, it's a bit younger. The potential is there as well. Is that what we aim for, and what anyone aims for when you do the South collaborations, I think, is sustainable transfer of knowledge and skills to the South. So that within the global South, you can work together and so on. You have you've been educated to get to a certain level, and then it's yours, and you go forward. We're not there to be your mother-in-law or something like that, or your stepmother. No, you're there. You have full control, and that's really the idea. And it's also the idea, for instance, initially we had biostatistics as the ICP track, and now we have 3. Also statistical bioinformatics. Some people said, why do you do an ICP version of statistical bioinformatics? Well, for us, it was very important because what we see a lot happening, and I've experienced that in Uganda, is that institutes from the UK and US, and it's not all institutes, specific ones, they come, they collect data, they're gone with the data, and the local people have nothing to do with it anymore. That's dreadful. And so we are educating people so that they can work with the data there. I think that's the main point. And yes, well, we organize similar activities as the master every year, so I will not be too repetitive as such. The one thing that which is a little bit different, not completely, but a little bit different, is from all the FLIR eligible countries, we have selected a few where we really devote attention to. And that's simply because we do not want to spread too much. We want to focus to build capacity in specific locations. And once that capacity has been built, up and running, maintaining is easier, and you can actually invest in new initiatives. And that is, I'll show you 2 examples in a moment, but that is actually what we go for. So maybe just to give you a few ideas, and again, I'll keep it limited. But we've been able to help establish a Master of Statistics, Biostatistics, in Cuba, in Havana, in Brazil, and we're actively supporting these masters with sometimes guest lectures and so on. In Ethiopia, in Jimma, in Ghana, And there are other initiatives, and Jake knows that very well because he's handling all of that. He's coordinating all of this. There is a lot of interest to establish new masters of statistics, especially also in Southeast Asia. We hear a lot of willingness actually to establish this. So I'm sure we'll get there. The path towards that is sometimes a little bit bumpy with regulations and so on, but we're kind of stubborn in that way, so we'll work it out. And then I don't know whether you know, but in Maputo there is a small center for statistics, which actually is headed by Osvaldo Loquilla, and Osvaldo is a former PhD student of Mark Katz and myself, and now they're with 4 persons with a PhD, basically having a center for statistics in Maputo, and they're doing well. They're not growing as such, but they know what to do, and there is more to come. And that's very nice that we've been able to train people that are now there, establishing a center for statistics. Every year we organize an ICP South Workshop. We do that this is not in collaboration, but simply because we have a different audience at that moment in time, different countries sometimes. And we circulate between 3 regions, typically Southeast Asia, Northeast Africa, and Sub-Saharan Africa. What's the next one again, Jade? It will be
Ethiopia.
Ethiopia, yeah. Earlier this week, we were already talking about South Africa as well. So sometimes we move faster than the schedule allows us, I guess. And then the North Workshop, this is one of the editions in HENS. But we're here now. We also have a master thesis in the South, so we collaborate, and that's the idea is then to tie it to people, local people, again, so that when you return, that you can actually find a job, work with those people, do research, and so on. You can continue to travel on what you learned in master. In terms of events, the 26th of May, we have our celebrations. I think we have 5. Yeah, depends on how you count. But enough so that we can celebrate big time. And there will be, we have 3 founding fathers, Paul Janssen, Erwin Kallas, and Walter Averbeek. And they all 3 have an award, and this award will now be given to several people, and the person that will get it from the South collaboration. Can we say that actually? No, you have to wait, huh?
It was already.
Okay. We'll get the South collaboration prize by Florence. There's another award being given by the Sacred Wisdom, the founding father. So also there is an award.
Wasn't that coincide with the honorary degrees?
It's the day after for us. Yeah, it's the day after. We had to squeeze it in somewhere. Yeah. And then, which is of interest, I think, and something that we are continuing to work on, is on the 11th and the 13th of October, 3 days, we will have a South conference. What does that mean? The South conference will take place in HENS, so big states, but we will invite at least 14, 15 persons from our network in the South to come over. We will launch, we already have an alumni network, and a big one, but we will launch a refurbished version of it. We will also indicate what we're going to do with that alumni network. This is not a sleeping alumni network, it's an active one. And so we have a few ideas we'd like to share. And the other thing that we're going to establish, hopefully, is also talking to each other about South-South collaborations, much more. So that when there is a biometric society in Uganda, that people from Kenya can come, from Ethiopia can come, from anywhere else in a neighborhood, let's say, a broad neighborhood. So that you don't have to travel to Europe all the time, but to meet your neighbors, basically, and can collaborate with them. Contact, you can always contact us, but you're very welcome to do so. Jade replies sometimes sooner than I do. Not always, again, it's true, huh? So I used to say, send everything to Jade, you have a very fast answer, but I noticed I can answer fast as well. No. Jade, Thank you for listening.